Well, hello and welcome to our Higher Education Leadership Symposium for Fall 2024. Our first group of presenters is going to be talking about leadership and enrollment management. And my name is Dr. Edwards, and I'm their instructor here at Tarleton State University. All right, I'll let the group take it away.
Thank you. As mentioned, we are discussing leadership and enrollment management. Our team consists of Tarashe the Great, Danielle Johnson, Sandra Maka, myself, Montoya McNeil, and Adria Mosher. Enrollment management is a strategic process in which higher education institutions use to increase enrollment, retention, and graduation. Enrollment management leaders play a crucial role in shaping how an institution looks. Leadership not only involves strategic planning, but also great decision-making skills. Below, we'll delve into the roles and attributes of leaders interviewed, as well as some of their practices, how they regard themselves as leaders, and more. And here's our literature review.
Thank you, Montoya. Looking at literature regarding enrollment management leadership, we looked at three major areas. They were the history of enrollment management, the purpose of enrollment management, and the issues faced in enrollment management. After reviewing the history of enrollment management, we found out that it traced back to the role of registrar, and at that point, the primary responsibility was maintaining records as well as the budget and financial oversight for institutions. That primarily fell into that role. The term enrollment management was actually first used in 1976 in an article in Boston College's alumni magazine by Jack McGuire. At that time, Boston College was in a crisis. They were operating at a loss. Enrollment was down beyond what other colleges in the area and around the country were actually facing. So they needed to figure out how they were going to improve their enrollment numbers, their revenue that was being brought in. At that time, they began to focus on retention, marketing, admission, and financial aid for the students that they were looking to bring in. The purpose of enrollment management is to improve enrollment and student satisfaction, to increase demand, and they had a goal of full capacity. So they wanted to get as close to capacity as possible. They wanted to increase demand in students that were looking to receive degrees and bring those students into their institution. Enrollment management also seeks to increase quality and diversity. They don't just want to focus primarily on one group of people or one program that they're offering. Strength in product selection and offering for students. So again, they want a diverse selection of what they're presenting for students. And that's not just classes, that's programs in the school, maybe mental health programs, physical health programs that are going back and forth with those in the market outside of the institutions. Also, revenue gains, affordability for students, and financial aid. Students have to find a way to cover their costs. So that's an important part of enrollment management, because if they can't afford it, they're not going to be enrolling. Improve retention, increase transfers, and recruiting. So that's not only just looking at those new students that are coming out of high school, but also people that are maybe coming out of the military, people that are in other institutions that they can bring to their colleges, and then improve the number of people that are still staying with their school. Issues faced in enrollment management, obviously navigating budget cuts. I think anywhere we see budget cuts, people are struggling to figure out how to handle that, but that is a major thing for enrollment management. Unpredictable events such as protests, political situations, which we've seen a number of in the at least last decade. Pandemics, we saw that with COVID, and then natural disasters, which we're seeing right now. We don't hear a lot about that on the news, but that is something that institutions are having to deal with. Supporting financial need for students, programs offered. They always want to make sure they're offering the most diverse programs they can, so that people are coming to them for all different sorts of things, not just focused on one area. deadlines, such as FAFSA deadlines, deadlines for registration. If you're not communicating with the students, keeping them enrolled, and they're not meeting deadlines, they're going to lose out on their education and enrollment. And then the economy. Obviously, the economy is struggling. People are struggling to make payments to schools. They're not going to want to do that. They're going to look at the fact that they need to be at work, taking care of themselves and their families. So those are all things that enrollment management leaders have to deal with. And that will bring us to observation insights.
Awesome. Thank you, Danielle. Let's get into some of our observations tonight. First is the American Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers, or ACRO for short. ACRO is a national professional organization for individuals in the areas of admissions, registrar, and enrollment management. Their website highlights resources and a yearly conference for leaders within the enrollment management area. ACRO's website has articles relevant to managers and leaders in enrollment management, along with courses and webinars to grow leaders' knowledge and increase their understanding as both being a leader and an enrollment management professional. Some of these courses include insights into an enrollment manager's role in student success, environmental scanning, strategic enrollment management, and an ASCEND program that is specifically for mid-level professionals to develop skills to move to the next level and lead in this area of higher education. ACRO has a leadership professional development program for leaders in enrollment advancing diversity, and the ASCEND programming is part of this initiative. These programs are to help leaders hone their leadership and communication skills. Leaders in either of these programs should come away from them with new ideas and strategies to be an effective leader. ACRO also has the opportunity for professional mentoring. Excuse me. This peer mentoring program allows members to connect, grow, and develop as leaders in the profession. Our next observation is the Assistant Vice President of Enrollment Management at Tarleton State University. So from their social media page, we know that this leader has 30 years of experience in higher education. Some of his focus areas are leading a partnership with over 300 high schools in Texas to promote Tarleton as a potential universities for these high schoolers to attend after high school graduation. This program also includes scholarship funding to assist with these recruitment efforts. These high schools are able to have designated advisors to assist with making the enrollment process go smoothly for their students. The AVP is also focused on the university's re-entry program for those students who started at the university, left, and now want to return to complete their degree. His leadership philosophy is one of serving those around him. This includes serving his students and the community. During his tenure at the university, he's attempted to dedicate time to understand the problems affecting people and provide support to staff and students. He dedicates a great amount of time to strategic planning. The AVP highlights that strategic planning is key to being successful. Another element of his success is also properly documenting goals and challenges. Even though a strategic plan is 5 or 10 years in implementation, it's also important to do yearly check-ins to look at goals and challenges and ensure that your plan is coming to fruition as expected. Our last observation for tonight is the Strategic Enrollment Management Committee at McLennan Community College. This committee aims to enhance successful student recruitment, retention, and completion rates. The recommendations of the subcommittees are taken into consideration and are often a part of the enrollment management process. The committee is broken up into subcommittees and task forces that manage specific areas. The Enrollment Management Committee is coordinated by a steering committee that is supported by 4 subcommittees with specific roles and duties. The subcommittees are comprised of admissions and marketing, finance, retention, and research and growth opportunities. The steering committee is overseen by the Vice President of Strategic Planning and Enrollment at the institution. The Admissions and Marketing Subcommittee provides recommendations related to student admissions, recruitment, marketing, and other related issues that impact enrolling and retaining students at MCC. The Finance Subcommittee suggests ideas about things like financial aid, student bills, foundation scholarships, and other money matters for students. The Retention Subcommittee makes recommendations aimed at enhancing student retention and persistence toward degree completion, and the Research and Growth Opportunities Subcommittee provides data and analysis that is deemed necessary. Also, this committee identifies the best opportunities for growth for the institution based on student interest, workforce demand, cost, capacity, and regional completion to positively impact enrollment for the school. Next is our interview insights from Sandra.
Sandra, can you please unmute?
I'm sorry. I do
No
apologize.
worries. No worries.
All right. So I guess what I'll summarize the interview responses from 3 leaders, 3 different higher institutions. List of interview questions include describing their expertise in their current leadership role. What leadership theory do they identify with? The importance of communication. How important is strategic planning in their current role? And recommendations for future higher education managers. We begin with Melanie Renaud, Associate Director at Aggie One Stop at Texas A&M University. The interview's expertise includes participating in the implementation of CRM, or Customer Relations Management, which streamlines some of their operations. She oversees presentations, events, marketing communication, and other branding for AOS, and she leads on training personnel on policy and procedures for their office to ensure consistency. Melanie experiences leadership as something that evolves over time, depending on the situation or environment. As a leader, the interview expressed the importance on helping others through mentorship and giving opportunities to others, as well as delegating when needed to help grow others their leadership skills or abilities. Melanie's response on communication is that 100% of it is vital for her work, but also important for everything. The messaging and language used needs to be transparent, clear, and concise. And again, depending on the situation, selecting the right form of communication is key. Moving to strategic planning, Melanie responded that strategic planning is something needed for service and for the service standpoint and personnel standpoint. And lastly, a recommendation for future higher education leaders is to learn from other institutions, be agile, be able to wear different hats as needed. Moving to the next slide. Our second interview was Dr. Laura Wickham, Vice President of Enrollment and Strategic Planning of McLennan Community College. Her expertise includes overseeing 5 different areas within the institution, which are admissions, student records, marketing, and enrollment services. Additionally, she expressed the importance of demonstrating flexibility when attending to the needs of her department. Dr. Wickham expressed the importance of being flexible in her leadership style, and it is dependent on the individual or situation she is working. But when she mostly identifies is having a servant leadership style because of her focus in ensuring the success of students, staff, and overall education institution. When asked about how important is communication in relations to current role, response was that communication is key. Dr. Wickham gave an example of a situation that arose after meeting with the marketing team and the name change of the department. An email was sent from the president of MCC that the name was changed. Yet this decision was not consulted with the marketing team. Dr. Richmond addressed this issue with the president by first emailing her and explaining why the team was upset, but also followed up with the president face-to-face meeting. Clear, concise, transparent communication is key, and this issue could have been avoided if this was followed. Dr. Wickham has 6 years of strategic planning and emphasized the need to be flexible. Although her team might have created a 5-year plan, sometimes there is a need to make changes within or after or within the 3-year mark. Always update what has worked and make revisions as what has not. Lastly, recommendations to future higher education managers include describing what the interview believes is an effective leader, a person that understands growth and learning, and it's never ending. Candidate must be willing to learn from the others and learn to identify the needs of a diverse group. Lastly, Natalie Kane, Recruitment and Retention at Dallas College. Her role includes strategic planning and relationship building with other leaders in enrollment, recruitment, and retention. She serves 6 high schools and helps to streamline and facilitate enrollment to Dallas College. Natalie's leadership style is more of a servant leader, and she describes herself as having a heart of service and exercises great discipline. When asked how important communication in her current role is, she responded that being available when potential partners attempts to make contact is key to assist in relationship building. Being knowledgeable in her expert area is imperative and must be communicated properly. Effective listening is important as well. Natalie expressed the importance of strategic planning prior to engaging with potential clients. Strategic planning is strong leader characteristic and renders great benefits. Lastly, recommendations for future higher education managers to develop leadership qualities and do your research and find a mentor. Thank you, and we now proceed with webinar findings.
Thank you, Sandra. So the webinars presented on this slide covers leadership management theories, the sustainability of leadership practice in higher education, and the significance of fostering a team-oriented environment and enhancing morale. The first webinar, Enrollment Management Leadership, focused on three key concepts. The first key concept deals with the principles of democratic leadership. This allows team members to contribute to their insights through their experience and engage in the decision-making process. The second key concept was a positive model leadership. This focuses on a positive reinforcement by encouraging and inspiring others rather than focusing on what not to do. The last key concept of this webinar is how leadership styles can coexist based on the needs of the individuals. The second podcast was the admissions leadership. The first key concept was the idea of self-help, networking with other departments on campus rather than figuring it out by yourself. The second key concept was the shortage of enrollment offices, identifying common resources needed, especially during peak season. And lastly, the collaboration with other offices. By doing this, you're able to build stronger relationship with other departments so each department can better serve students and connect students with the right resources. Our third webinar, which was the enrollment management from theory to practice, discussed three different theories throughout this webinar. The first theory was the resource dependency theory, which is a response to external environment challenges. And then the second was an institutional theory, which is the mimicking of other institutions' effective strategies. And then lastly was the new managerialism, which focused on the adoption of policies, practice, and tools that are commonly used by private sectors. Our fourth webinar was the UCI Compass in the Strategic Enrollment Management. The first key concept from this webinar was the idea of being proactive. By doing this, reaching out to students before they become students at said institution or before they arrive on campus have been shown to be effective. The second key concept, which was the early intervention, being able to identify students that might have a hard time adjusting to college. And lastly, imposter syndrome. Our fifth and last podcast was the longevity of leadership, which provided insight on how to maintain a leadership within enrollment management. The first key concept was the stages of career, and the stages within this entail three different stages. The first one was growth, which is an expansion of knowledge, which involves learning new elements for your job to grow your knowledge and advance your career. The second stage was leadership. This stage comes with more influence in your institution, inside your office or division. And then the last stage was the mastery stage. This is where you're able to share your wisdom with others. This stage was also the primary focus of this podcast. The second key concept of this webinar was strategies to assist you along your journey, which entail continuous learning, adapting with current times, and working on accepting feedback. And the last key concept provided skills needed to maintain leadership role in enrollment management, which entail communication, relationships, and a strong work ethic while embracing change. Next, I will hand it over to Montoya for the conclusion. If I can unmute. Thank you all. In conclusion, it's understood that effective enrollment management is key for the growth of all higher education institutions. And it's also understood that effective leadership requires positive attitude, coordination and implementation skills, also an open mind, great communication skills and listening skills, and most of all, a heart to serve, amongst other quality characteristics. Leaders in enrollment management come from a wide variety of departments within higher education institutions, as this large task is an ongoing group effort. We all know that some leaders serve in different areas such as financial aid, veteran affairs, admissions, and even the office of the president. Thank you. Do we have any questions?
I do. I don't know if you can hear me okay. Um, Working currently, I work in annual giving at Tarleton State University, and I think it was Danielle that touched on the issues with COVID and enrollment management and just kind of like the lasting effects. And I'm just curious, it's not really a question, but just maybe just a short little discussion. If y'all found any ways that, some of that, what we're seeing in higher education fundraising is kind of that lag from like that group of students that really missed out like on campus life and trying to get them engaged as young alumni and things like that because a lot of their courses were online and so they didn't have the same engagement on campus. I'm just kind of wondering if y'all came across of anything in your research about how institutions within enrollment management are trying to pick up the pieces from that. And my audio cut out just a little bit when Danielle was speaking, so you might have touched on this, but I don't know. It again, just kind of like if y'all saw anything that other institutions are doing to kind of re-engage that group that kind of missed out on some of that, um, maybe your retention rates or something like that.
So I'm sure other people in here might be able to help out too on this, but I noticed that with a lot of it, when we were reading about the COVID stuff, it was brought up throughout the course in just the literature we were seeing. It's kind of, I guess, the same way as you, like they've never been through this before. So they're all trying like trial and error to see, maybe we can try this, maybe we can try that, like sending more college representatives to schools, more advertisement, just trying to pull them in through that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to add to that, but I saw a lot of like trial and error that nobody was on like the same page where it was just, well, this is the one answer for everybody.
Right.
Yeah, there wasn't one clear-cut answer to your question, if I'm really honest with you. Like there's nothing that says like the result of these efforts work. Because they're still trying to figure it out. Not necessarily from like the research for this class, but just my experience of like I work in enrollment management right now, and I'm a manager for my office, and I supervise student employees, and so I have seen the effects of what COVID did to those students, like their senior year of high school, their freshman year of college. Some of them are really struggling to finish school right now, to finish on time. And so I can see where like the impact for young alumni is also coming into play. Like if they're struggling to finish college, finding a job, and then giving back to the institution is really difficult right now. And just in our literature, I think some of it is just reaching out to them continuously, but there's no clear-cut answer for what is working for fundraising for that group right now because they're just exiting college.
Right. Thank you. It was just kind of a curious. We're same kind of trying different things to see how we can
Hmm.
keep that group. Especially with homecoming
Yeah.
at Tarleton this week, we see like kind of a gap with some of those groups. So, anyways, I was just curious.
I think they struggle with trying to keep on track for themselves because they were for the 2 years all online, and then now like they were able
Right.
to do it on their own, and now it's like a concrete like, no, this is happening, and they're like, oh, how do I do it? It was easier the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just kind of now exiting like people or students that were in high school during COVID. Um, like on the admission standpoint, like we're exiting the period of where they might have all had just pass fail grades because that's what a lot of high schools did for those students is they just gave them pass fail for the 2 years that were COVID.
Mm. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. What made y'all interested in the enrollment in this subcategory?
I would say for me, I work at a community college, but I work in the accommodations and Title IX office. And I am thinking about switching careers, but still staying in higher education. But I know as this semester was starting, and we were kind of skeptical of how the campus would look wise with enrollment because numbers were low last year, but this year, like the numbers have like skyrocketed. And then so I just kind of wanted to see like what all involves enrollment besides, the strategic planning and retention, like what's on the back end of it that, we might not really know of. So that was my reasoning.
I think for me, I just kind of like puzzles, and I feel like enrollment management to me is like it's like a puzzle, and just getting out to meet people and see, like that's what I think of when I think of it. Like you're interacting with other people, you're not just hiding away in an office somewhere, you're trying to figure out how to make the best of the situation.
I personally decided this group because I work in financial aid, and we find that a lot of the responsibilities in terms of getting students completed, getting their files complete for financial aid to be able to attend school, they've slid enrollment and retention into our area, which again, I know financial aid plays a great part, but we're kind of like on the front end now. Like we're going and doing the outreach. We're having to work with the high school kids to get them prepped, as that is also a requirement that the Texas Education Agency made for high school graduates to have to either complete the FAFSA or they have to opt out, which we don't give them that option until much later, right before graduation. They really have to think it through. Like college, has to be something that they actually go through, sit down with people and think through before they just totally opt out. But we do find that we have a few at the end that have a little pushback. And so enrollment management has become like this really big thing. They even have us doing campaigns. And of course, at first we were like, why do we have to do it? But it makes sense, especially from the financial aid standpoint, when you get to talk to them and say, hey, the funds are there. So this was really interesting for me.
So for me, I work in enrollment management. I work at the Aggie One Stop at Texas A&M University, and we're kind of in the center of enrollment management at my university, because we advise on all of the home office's content for students within enrollment management. So we're advising on admissions processing, scholarships and financial aid, student business services, the registrar's office. Military education benefits. And so I have a goal of like advancing my career and being a leader within enrollment management because I really love the work that I get to do. And I'm kind of a lower level manager right now. I supervise our student employee team. And so I get to sit in on our leadership team meetings for my department. And so I'm surrounded by awesome leaders. And so that's something I aspire to be. And so I picked this one because it's close to home and it's something that I want to advance in. And so it was really pertinent for me from my knowledge.
Outstanding job, group. I appreciated all of your insights, and we thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.